Welcome, everyone, to this Cup of Coffee podcast with me, your host, Tom Dillon. This is being recorded live at our Tin Pot mobile studio and broadcast around the world. Today, we're joined by a special guest, Arsh Ellahi, and today's topic is a conversation with Arsh Ellahi. In terms of Arsh, Arsh is a property investor, entrepreneur, and host of the Property Rebel podcast, which I'm sure we'll touch on in the interview. Today, we're just going to have a chat with Arsh, a bit of background of how I know Arsh. Now I came across his work and been impressed with him ever since. Really, must be 10 years ago thereabouts. I went on a training course of Arsh's, which at the time was around how to maximise revenue and therefore profits from houses and rooms, focused especially on people the time of collecting housing benefit, now universal credit. Although of course he even then was running had lots more strings to his bow than just that, and especially and certainly does now. So my idea for today was to say hello to Ash and then just to ask him essentially what he's been doing since then, what he thinks of the market, get an update of what he's up to. I think he's always a very interesting to speak to. Good morning, Ash.
Hi, Tom. Thank you for getting me on the podcast. It's been a long, like I said, it's been a long time, isn't it?
It's been
It's
crazy.
been a long time, yeah. So,
Uh,
but it's good to see you, and more importantly, good to you just briefly told me that you've made the transition abroad, which obviously is a good move right now. But we'll talk about that shortly.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You too. By the sounds of it, everyone's doing it. I was trying to think the last time we spoke, and by the way, Arsh is very active on social media, but I'm not. So I'm sure if you keep up with it, Arsh, on there, which you should do, then you'd know the answer to this next question. But I don't, so I'm interested to hear from the horse's mouth, as it were, which is, what have you been up to, Arsh, and how well has that been going? Have you been making great moves, or doing more of the same, or what?
Okay, so let's start from the beginning. So I'm
Mm.
going to let everyone into a little secret that I'm 44 years old, but I don't look 44 and I don't act 44. So I've been involved in property now 25 years,
Mm.
25 long, hard years. And for people that tell you that you're going to make £1 million in property overnight, unfortunately, I've got to say, you're full of it. We won't swear, but you are full of it
Sure.
because 25 years later, it's been a grind.
Mm.
It's been a grind. So I wrote a book, and this is not a plug. I wrote a book called Boom, Bust, and Back Again. So as the title
Mm.
suggests, boom, we've seen some fantastic times. Bust, literally hanging on by the skin of my teeth.
Mm.
Back again to tell the tale. So, like I said, even though I said that I've been involved in property 25 years, you could say that I've actually been involved in property 40 years because how it started out was that my parents who emigrated over from Pakistan. They
Mm.
came to the UK. My father was a precision engineer. Now, what that means is that he used to manufacture parts for companies like Caterpillar and the Lex Group, and he used to manufacture parts for like earth movers and all these large machinery. He used to manufacture parts for. That was his first love. That was his first passion. And what he
Mm.
did is that from the profits of that, slowly but surely, he felt that it made financial sense to purchase a house. Now, normal people would live in a mid-terrace house and they would utilize the whole house, but not my family. I'm one of six siblings, and then you got my mom and dad, so we're a family of eight.
Mm.
And my parents thought that at the time that they were really risk averse, and the one thing that they didn't want to do has been a position where they could never afford the mortgage.
Mm.
So what happened is that a family of eight, so they bought a four-bedroom house I'm going to call it the centre of the world, but other people know it as Wolverhampton. And what happened is that when they bought this four-bedroom mid-terrace house, a family of eight, me, my siblings, we all lived just on the ground floor. And what my
Right.
dad did, and we're talking now back early 80s, he turned the bedrooms upstairs, the four bedrooms and the bathroom upstairs, into individual lets. So we'd have four individual people living above us. So
Wow.
as far as I'm concerned, I've known nothing other than to be a landlord and also and and also, so I'm multitasking as we speak. Um, I know nothing other than to be a landlord and also live in a HMO. I lived in a HMO pretty much up until the first 8 years of my life. And the people that taught my parents English, believe it or not, were the tenants that lived upstairs. My mum and dad weren't fluent in English. They came over on a wing and a prayer. And the people that taught them English was the tenants upstairs.
It's good,
So
good
it's a
way of
bit
getting free
crazy.
lessons, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a free, it's no money down English lessons, they called it. So I mean, so in that respect, it was challenging because obviously, family of 8 living on the ground floor. Really, we only used so what would have been the 2 reception rooms. They were being utilised as bedrooms. Then we had a small living room. There was 1 kitchen and a very small bathroom.
Yeah.
So well, first 8 years, that's what I thought other people did. I didn't realise that there was an upstairs or people used to use the upstairs. So it's crazy, but it taught my parents a lot. It taught me a lot. It taught all my siblings a lot. And slowly but surely, so the income that those rooms generated, along with the engineering company, that started to generate more profits. And slowly but surely, my father started to purchase other properties. But luckily, we didn't live in those ones as well. He let out those all out on a room by room basis. We now know that.
Did he slowly kick out the people upstairs? Did you end
No,
up you being able
no,
to
he
use the
didn't.
upstairs?
No, no.
No.
Eventually, what happened is that he bought a house a few doors down, and he then allowed us to use both floors. Yeah.
That must have been a good day when you found out what's
Honestly,
this?
honestly,
Bathroom up
honestly, it was like we had so much space. We had so much space because we'd never known. We didn't know what living on 2 floors was like.
luxury.
So it was luxury, but this was part of the journey. This was part of the journey. So in that respect, it was great. So the income that the engineering company was bringing in and the income from the 4 rooms upstairs, slowly but surely, he was very good at saving. My dad was, and you got to remember back when he was buying between the 70s and the 80s, the maximum he paid for a house at that time was like £1,500.
Yeah.
So if I tell people now that he paid £1,500 for a house, but that house today, is worth many hundreds of thousands of pounds, it's crazy. But you got to think of that back then, £1,500 was probably equivalent to like £150,000 today.
Yeah. Inflation being what it is.
Exactly. So so they struggled. They struggled. He was very risk averse. He kept saying, "We've got to make sure we pay the mortgage. We've got to make sure we pay the gas and the electric." He was always very much about paying all the bills, getting them out of the way, and then figuring out what we could do thereafter. Now, me being one of 6, naturally, I was the king of hand-me-downs. So I never, going to school, this is not a poverty session or anything like that, but I would have worn perhaps hand-me-downs of my brother's trousers or my brother's jumper, or my brother's blazer. That's what happened in the 80s.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I was always glad when I got stuff handed down from a male rather than a female. That was always a bad day when you ended up.
Well, luckily, so out of 6 siblings, I've got 4 brothers and 1 sister. So luckily, my sister, she didn't have to wear she didn't have to wear any hand-me-downs.
That's good.
It was honestly, looking back at it now, it was a phenomenal life, phenomenal upbringing, because against all the odds, and that's all I can say, against all the odds, in theory, if you write this as a script, it should have failed. But we worked hard, we stuck together, we stick to the unit. And the one thing that my dad would not let me do, he would not let me slack. So every evening, I would, as slowly as he started to build a small portfolio of properties, every evening after school, I would then go to Muslim school. So I'd go to learn how to read the Quran and learn some religious studies. So that was between 5 and 7, Monday to Friday, without fail. There's no skipping it, no skipping it. Come back from mosque at 7 o'clock. I would then go and help him collect rent and maintenance from 7 till about 9. Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
I'd come back at 9 o'clock. I'd eat dinner. So let's say 9:30, 9:45. And if I wasn't knackered, I'd attempt homework.
Yeah, right. That's a tough schedule, isn't it? Most kids are starting, including me, finishing at 3:30 and do what you want.
So I would get home. I'd leave school at 3:30. By the time I walked home, or by the time I got home on the bus, quarter
Yeah,
past 4, I had to come in. My mum used to make me a quick sandwich. I'd have to get back out and go to mosque. There
yeah.
was no skip. There was no skipping it.
No messing about.
Yeah,
That's great training,
no,
isn't
no
it? Yeah.
messing about. And so that was for so many years of my life. So almost like up until teenage years.
Mm,
And then on the weekend, most people would go out and play football.
mm.
Not me. I'd have to go to the engineering company from 7:30 in the morning to 12:30 on a Saturday. And then
Wow.
in the afternoon, we'd get back home about approximately 1 o'clock. We'd eat lunch. And then on the Saturday, I'd then have to help my mum and dad with the food shopping. So this was us. This was us as a family.
Are you any good at football, Ash? I get the impression you might not be because you haven't had any time to practice, have you?
Believe it or not, I'm actually okay. I'm
Yeah,
quite
actually, half
useful.
decent.
I'm quite useful. So literally, so after I finished at the engineering company, come back, I'd been knackered because the engineering company was physically demanding. So when I say that, like my dad used to work there Monday to Friday, and he used to make all the mess. So he used to manufacture parts for earth movers, forklifts. So he used to have a huge bit of steel, and he used to turn it into a small part like this.
Right.
And so all that waste and that swarf, as we call it, would then just be accumulated, waiting for me and my siblings on Saturday to come and clean it up. And so, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about engineering. I learned a lot about getting my hands dirty. I was literally covered. Yeah, it sounds like a poverty story, but honestly, it was great. It was great times because we had a factory in Willenhall in the Black Country, and it wasn't all work. So what in between, we had a coffee break. So the time was 7:30. We used to leave the house, Wolverhampton. We used to get to Willenhall 8 o'clock. We used to work 8 till 10. We used to have a coffee break 8:10 till 10:30. And in that coffee break, we had like a little yard outside the factory. We used to play cricket. We used to play cricket in the yard. So we made our own bat out of wood. And we used to buy a tennis ball, and we used to play cricket every Saturday and every Sunday. And it was
It's an
brilliant. My dad used to. Sorry?
it's an engineering factory, isn't it? It seems like a good spot to be able to make a bat.
Yeah, no, honestly, but we were very resourceful. So, in terms of, uh, uh, sorry, bear with me. We're co-working. I'm in a co-working space. So, Mark, if you want some chips, help yourself. Uh, so you did say it's a cup of tea with Arsh Ellahi, didn't you? That
Oh,
also
it's,
means
it's
lunchtime. It also
absolutely
means lunchtime. I'm eating chips in Dubai. How cool is that?
very
Um,
cool.
so Saturday, we used to play cricket in between. And then on the Sunday, same thing, 7:30, get back 1 o'clock. And then on the Sunday, that was really the only time in the week that I had to myself. So Sunday afternoon. But I'll be honest, I was knackered. I was
Time
knackered.
for
So really, yeah,
time
so
off.
literally, so that was the time where I used to get to play football out in the street, what normal kids would do.
Mm, mm.
So I had some friends on the street. We used to go and play football. We used to go to a field. We used to go swimming and stuff like that. Yeah. It wasn't
So,
all work.
well, yeah, good. It seems like a really interesting upbringing, and kind of explains to me because for those who don't know Ash personally, and things may have changed over the last few years, but ever since I know him, one of the hardest working blokes I've ever met, for all the good and bad that that implies. So, and that
But that,
backstory
but that's
kind of tells me why.
that's what my upbringing brought me.
Exactly.
There was never a point of you're not allowed to go to work or you're not allowed to do it. My father said to me, he goes, "You want it, you got to go and get it.
Yeah,
You want it, you
yeah.
got to work for it." He goes, "It's never going to be handed to you." He goes, "It's never handed to me in a play. I've had to come here, work my backside off."
Mm.
And he goes, "That if someone says that it's going to be landed on a plate," he goes, "It's never going to happen." So that was the equality. I think if you were to ever say to me, what was the best thing that my parents gave to me? It was the equality of the quality of roll your sleeves up and get going. Yeah, don't expect anyone to do anything for you. Don't expect any favors. If you want it and you work hard enough for it, you'll get it. That was generally the lesson that they always taught me. And that unfortunately, that was instilled to me from day one. And you've got to remember, they came over here ultimately as immigrants, as migrants. So ultimately, no one handed anything to them. They've never had any support from, government or, all the benefits that people probably get today. They had to go and do it. And it was survival. So
Well, speaking
I suppose that's... Go on, sorry.
Speaking of, well, bring us kicking and screaming then into the modern world. You obviously grew up and sort of decided, had your own decisions to make as you were growing up. How did you take things forward yourself, and what happened there?
So, okay. So with everything that I've told you now, there's a defining day in my life. Defining day is GCSE results day.
Right.
And the reason being is that my parents used to think, no, Arsh is going to apply. Don't worry, be fine. Results day came. I didn't get a single GCSE.
Wow.
And honestly, my parents looked at me and they were surprised. And I had to say to them, guys, I said, I've worked my backside off for the last God knows how many years. I said, at what point did I do any homework? How did we ever expect me to actually do well in education? That was my excuse. But ultimately, it's been determined that I've got ADHD. And so I was never, ever going to pass an exam.
Right.
I can read a page of a book and nothing will ever go in. And that still remains the same today. I can't read a book. Give me a podcast. Give me something that I can listen to. So all the books that I read now, I listen to, with the beauty of Spotify and things like that. That really helps. So if I have to, luckily now with the introduction of ChatGPT, if someone ever sends me a large document, I throw it into ChatGPT. I'll say, read this out to me. And also spell out what are the things that I need to be aware of.
I didn't know ChatGPT could do that. It was an exciting tool. I didn't know it could read things out.
Yeah, so there's lots of AI that I use now, which makes my life a lot easier, because before I'd have to ask people to read a document and tell me what it meant, because again, I don't have the ability. My brain does not work that way. I've got many special powers. Reading a document and interpreting it is not one of them. So if you put me in it, if you put an exam document in front of me, it says, what is 2 + 2? I will give you 5 A4 pages as to why I think it's 463, because I didn't understand the question.
Yeah, right.
I didn't understand the question, but that's now. Believe it or not, I actually only got diagnosed with ADHD, even though I've known for forever and a day. I only got diagnosed last year.
Okay.
But I knew it. So, okay. But anyway, so going back to GCSE results day, I didn't get a single GCSE. And my parents said to me, he goes, you know what? In the nicest possible way, you fucked up. He goes, so now you're going to come and work with us in the factory. And honestly, my heart sank. I thought, shit, okay, this is life over. It's finished. I'm gonna whatever I've been doing all throughout my years now, I'm just gonna be working in this oil factory. I'm gonna be covered back like head to toe. I thought, oh man, this is really tough. So I begged and pleaded, and I said, you know what, I need one more chance, and then I had to do a retake here, but I said to the school, I don't want to do any exams. I need to do coursework, because you put me in an exam, I'm going to fail again. I can't afford to fail again. So luckily, I'll come across a teacher, and I always quote her because honestly, her name's Helen Lowbridge. And the moment she met me, she understood me. She got me. And she goes, Arsh, you're all about coursework. I get that you can't do exams. And from that moment on, literally, it was coursework. And I excelled at everything. Got distinction in my retake year. That allowed me to then go on and do my A-levels. But I didn't do A-levels, I did GMVQ, but coursework based. I got a distinction in that. Then that allowed me to go to university. But I made a promise to my parents on GCSE day that they allowed me to go into further education. I'd never asked them for a penny. So if I wanted to go to uni, I'd have to do it on my own back. Now, 16 years old, how do I do that? So I'm telling you the story because this is thing that people don't tell. So at 16 years old, when after I did my retake year, I decided to move school just randomly, and I don't know why. To this day, Tom, I still don't know why. Lunchtime one day, I decided to leave school because I didn't have any lessons in the afternoon. I walked on my way home. I walked past another school, and I just walked in. I said, "Guys, have you got any opening for sixth form?" I don't know why. And luckily, the lady, her name was Mrs. Ainsworth. She goes, "I've actually got 5 minutes free now. Do you want to have an interview?" And sat through the interview. And within 30 minutes, she goes, "I'd love to offer you a place." And to this day, I don't know what drove me to walk into a different school. My parents didn't know that I was doing this. No one knew I was doing this. She gave me an acceptance letter. I didn't tell anyone. Literally, I didn't tell anyone. Now we're in 6 weeks holidays. I still didn't tell anyone that I was going to a new school.
Mm.
And it's only a week before I was about to start, I had to say to my folks, "Guys, I'm moving school." Again, the shit hit the fan. They thought, "What the hell are you doing?" But I don't know. I decided to run with it.
Sometimes you
And
got to trust
that was
your instincts, haven't you?
yeah, so that was another life defining moment because I made some friends there that are now friends for life.
Mm.
And one of the guys there, he said to me within the first couple of weeks of me meeting him at the new school in sixth form, he goes, "My uncle imports watches from China." Well, okay, fine. Yes, okay, fine. What do I know about watches? I don't know anything. Well, let's say they're not, fancy watches. They were knockoffs of well-known brands. So instead of it being Tommy Hilfiger, they called it Tommy Sports. Instead of it being Lacoste, they called it Le Croc.
Mm.
And they, instead of it being Dolce and Gabbana, they call it D&G Sports.
Mm.
And they were nice looking watches. And he said to me, he goes, "Oh, she goes, we've got an opportunity here." He goes, because his family all ran markets. I goes, "How about we do a market together?" Because you've got to remember, I was a year older than everyone in my year because I did a retake year, so I could drive.
Yeah, okay.
So I said to him, "Okay," I said, "We haven't got any capital. So how are we going to get hold of these watches?" And so what I proposed to his uncle, who was the person importing it, I proposed to him that what we now call a sell or return. I said to him, "Why don't you give us some watches? Why don't you start small? Give us 100 watches at the start of Saturday morning. I will go to a local market. And then at the end of the day, whatever I have sold, I will pay you for. Whatever I have not sold, I will return back to you, sale or return." He goes, "Yeah, but why should I give you stock? How do I know you?" I said, "Valid point." I said, "Instead of me giving you £1 for a watch now, how about if I give you £1 10 pence, which means that you're making more than if I buy them outright off you today." He agreed. He agreed. So I now have got 100 watches, which I've not paid for. And I can now go and capitalize on that. So off I went to the local market. That Saturday, my dad dropped me off 6 o'clock in the morning. It was pissing down. It couldn't have started any worse. And you know how it started? I went and bought 2 pasting tables from B&Q. I think they cost me 12 quid each. And I managed to get a cloth, or no, not a cloth, like a weatherproof shield, weatherproof covering, just to cover the stock. Because the last thing I want to do is not sell the stock, but also then giving back 100 drenched watches, which means that I'm going to have to pay for those money that I don't have. Okay, so remember, I've got a lot riding on my plate. I've now got almost like a credit line without actually having any money. So I've got to sell these bloody watches. So I said to myself that morning, "Sell your backside off. Do not stop talking from 6 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You cannot stop talking. You cannot stop moving. We're going to keep energy home. We're going to sell 100 watches." I sold out by 11:30. And we
That's
were
pretty
selling these
impressive.
watches. Yeah. So we literally, the market was not busy. It was not busy, but I literally knew that I could not go home without selling these watches. So at the end of the day, the guy came back to me, the uncle came back to me, he goes, "Oh," she goes, "how many watches you sold?" I said, "There's your £110. He looked at me, he goes, "What?" I said, "Sold all 100 watches. £1.10. a watch. I proposed to you. There's your £110. He was shocked. He goes, just out of curiosity, how much are you selling the watches for? I said, I'll sell them for £5 each. And if someone was buying more than one, I'd say I'll do three. I'd do a deal on them. So sometimes I'll do £3 each or two for a fiver, whatever it made. As long as I knew that I had to cover £1.10 per watch, plus then I had a market pitch, which was costing me £16 for the day. And then on top of that, I had a bit of food. So the market pitch plus food was costing me around £25 a day. And then on top of that, I knew that I had to cover the cost of the watches. So I came in that day with £500. I paid him £110. I paid off the £25. So £135 was my cost for the day. I'm left with over 300 and, circa 70 off £65, £365 for one day, 17 years old.
That's a good deal
So
in
this
1997, whatever it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, 1997. And then obviously I had to split that with a friend as well. So it was we did a split because I was doing it, and then he kind of come up with a bit of the concept. I gave him a bit of the profits. I was out there doing it. So I said to the guy next week, next week I want 300 watches. Guess what happens next week? I sell 300 watches. And then I started to get a bit confident with this. I said, you know what? No, I'm not only going to do Saturday, I'm going to do Saturday and Sunday. So I was knackered from the weekend. I'd be at school all week. I'd go and help with the maintenance in the evenings. And then I'm going to do weekends at the market. 17-year-olds, other teenagers chasing girls. I'm chasing goddamn watches. And then we started to add other novelty products in there. So this guy would import a load of Chinese crap. Let's call it Chinese crap. Novelty lighters, Pokemon toys, whatever he had. I said, let's stick it on the stand. I thought, because let's face it, we're not paying my philosophy, and this is my philosophy in life. And the reason why I'm telling you this backstory is that what I learned here is that everything that taught me through my property journey. So I thought, I'm not paying for the stock until I've actually sold it. So what stops me from taking it on and trying to sell it? Worst case scenario, I don't sell it. I hand it him back. Best case scenario, I sell it. I've made some money. I've paid him what I owe for it, and I will keep the retention. So if we take this now to the property world, we've come a long way around, but we've got to the property world. This is now what people call rent to rent. You take someone's asset, you rent it off them, you give them a set amount, and anything that you make on top is deemed as your profit or your cash flow. And you don't just have to do this. You don't just have to do this with property. You can do this with anything and everything. You think of the business world today. Do you think EasyJet and do you think all these major airlines, they own their airplanes? No, they don't. They lease them and they then go and sell all the seats and they make their money that way.
Yeah, smart, I guess. With the rent to rent, that's how you got started in property, was it?
No, so rent to rent came a little bit later on. So rent to rent came a little bit later on in my journey. But ultimately, the concept of using someone else's asset and capitalizing on it was the key fundamental of my property journey. So when I left university, I did markets for a period to get me through university, because remember, I wasn't allowed to ask for any handouts. And on top of that, I was actually quite good at DJing. So I've got a bit of an ear for music. So I used to DJ all throughout university, and that paid my rent, that paid my university fees and everything. So anyway, after I left uni, my dad sat me down. He goes, she goes, okay, well done. You got through uni. And he goes, do you want to come and help me now in the property business? I didn't want to go in the engineering company. I said, well, property, maybe I can throw something in here, but I didn't want to. So I restructured his portfolio very quickly because he was not very good. He was great at acquiring stuff, perhaps not so great at managing it. Buying it is quick and easy. That's it. Buying property is the exciting part. Owning property and managing it, everyone hates that part. Let's face it, tenants now, how many rights have they got? with everything that's going on in the world and the renters reform and all that kind of stuff. Owning property is actually a ball ache. Buying it is buying it and going to do the deal. That's the exciting part. Structuring the deal is exciting. Once you've actually shook hands with the owner and it gets into the legals and the solicitors, guess what? Actually gets quite boring from there on. Sorry, guys, if you're involved in property and you're listening to this, the conveyancing process will make you question many parts of life. Getting a mortgage and the solicitors, dealing with surveyors will question your own existence on life.
Certainly will. But you worked out you were good at the management side, even though maybe the side that other people and certainly maybe your dad weren't so great at.
Yeah. So we were, well, I was quite good at the management side. So I structured his portfolio quite quickly and we've got it running quite smoothly. But then on top of that, that would only take managing his portfolio, maybe a couple of hours a week. Mm-hmm. Then he said to me, he goes, come into the engineering side. And I was adamant I did not want to go to the engineering side because then I would find that I would be there forever. Mm. So I said to him, how about we trade some properties? How about we buy something? Perhaps, the novice way, why don't we buy something? We've all seen Homes Under the Hammer. Why don't we buy something? Why don't we give it a quick lick of paint and then try and sell it and increase the value and benefit from the capital appreciation? No, we can try it. So at the time, he was very low leveraged. So we used a bit of leverage on his portfolio to buy a property and we renovated it. And then we put it back on the market and we made a bit of profit. But it was very slow. To buy it takes approximately 2 to 3 months. To renovate it takes approximately 2 to 3 months. To sell it takes approximately 2 to 3 months. So you're doing like one deal a year. And then I started to become ambitious. Why don't we do multiple in a year? And again, we did it, had one. And then whilst that one was going through, I started looking for the next one. And ultimately, every way, I started to chop out part of the process. So before I was buying it through estate agents, how can we speed up the estate agents process? Why didn't buy it through an auction? Okay, that's a little bit quicker. And instead of then buying it through an estate agent and then selling it back through an estate agent, why don't I buy it through an auction, providing that I buy it right, and sell it back through an auction, which means that 28 days, and renovation period, let's say 2 months, I can now be out within approximately 6 months, as opposed to 9 months. And slowly, I started to streamline it every way. And then instead of buying it from an auction company, why don't I now start to do my direct vendor strategy? And instead of now buying it through an auction company and save a load of money through costs there, I'm doing direct to vendor, which meant that I had to do direct to vendor marketing. And then I would renovate it. And then I would then sell it through either estate agent or auction. So I still had that part here. And eventually I thought, well, why do I still need the auction company? Why don't I build my own investor database? So all the people that I met through the auction company, all the buyers that were there, I started taking all their contact details. And the next thing you know, I started to go and negotiate a deal with an owner. Let's just imagine it's worth 100,000. So I would negotiate it at 70,000. And then instead of me now renovating it, I would have all these people in my mobile phone. There wasn't any WhatsApp back then. It was all SMS, text message. I would send them all an individual text message. Guys, I've got a house, 3-bedroom house. It's worth 100,000. I bought it for 70. You give me 75 for it and it's yours. Or I'll tell you what, come and give me $5,000 out the middle and you can take the contract. And that is where a company that I formed called We Buy Properties Fast was formed. So the company, I started a company called We Buy Properties Fast. And by the name, you can tell exactly, it does exactly what it says on the tin. We Buy Properties Fast. And then I started, because I was now negotiating a deal, and it's exactly the same. Think of the concept as the market. I've now got an owner looking to sell. I've now got a buyer looking to buy. In the market scenario, I've got the uncle giving me the stock, and the buyer is a person at the market. I'm the person facilitating it all in the middle. So I'm a great facilitator. So what happened is that we went out on a national, when I say national, we started local. We put out adverts in the local newspaper. You got a property to sell. We're a cash buyer. We can complete within 7 days. This, that, and the other. Blah blah blah. And our phone started ringing. So because we couldn't buy all the deals that we were looking at ourselves, and we would cherry pick the ones, we then set up. Literally, we now call it deal sourcing. I've been deal sourcing since the year approximately 2000, 2001. And we were trading on average around 30 deals a month. So deal would come in. Yeah. So honestly, one would come in, and we wouldn't even go out and view it. We would just negotiate the deal on the phone. Not the right way to do it now, because we've probably lost so many opportunities by not going to sit with them. But anyway, so if it's worth 100,000, we would negotiate it 70,000 on the phone. If you're happy with it, great. We would then text out that to our investors. Guys, worth 100. You could buy it for 70. Our fee is 5 grand. You'd have to come and give us 5 grand. And then you and the owner would then sit together, deal done.
Wow. So how did we get from that? All sounds amazing and exactly the kind of thing I'd imagine you'd be doing. But then how do we get to the people like bad news? How do you get to the bit in the book, if you like, called, the bust bit? How does any of this start to go
So
wrong? Or is
basically,
that further down the line?
I've told you this projection of boom. Right, let's go to bust. So 2004, me and my 2 siblings. I've got two out of the 6 siblings. 2 of the 6 siblings, they were also involved in the property side with me, and the engineering side. One of the elder siblings out of the 3 of us, he decided that he thought, well, in actual fact, now that we've renovated some houses and we've sold them, why don't we try a larger project? So he was at the time, he had graduated from university with first class honours in I think it's land. I don't know, I can't remember. Planning land. Anyway, he wanted to be a RIC surveyor, and so anyway, he started negotiating on land. And with the land, we then acquired the land. So we bought the land traditionally, which meant that we had to put down a large deposit. So the money that I was churning through the deal sourcing, we now bought land. And then the first piece of land, it was in Wolverhampton, piece of land called Tetnall Gate. That's what the name of the development was. We built, again, it's a long time ago. I think it's either 24 or 28 apartments, mix of 1 and 2 bed apartments. We called the company back then Bentley Homes. That was a bit flash. And, we built those. We bought the land, we built them, and we sold them. And I remember us making a profit of over £1 million.
Wow.
So things are going really well. We're trading, we're building, word's getting out that, we're doing okay. And then as one project finishes, we go off and start buying something else. We bought a car showroom in Wolverhampton. Was Mitsubishi car showroom. Tied up the land, got planning for it. This one was for, off memory again, I think it's 20 odd 4-bedroom detached houses. In between that, we'd done some other smaller developments, but and then we got all the planning, everything. That one was quite a timely planning battle, but either way, we got it through. And just as we're about to start building, we get a call from Lidl. And Lidl says, "You want to sell the site?" We said, "Well, we're about to start work on it next week." He goes, "Well, how about if we make you an unconditional offer?" And we said, "Well, the offer's got to be good enough in order for us to stop building." And they gave us the same amount of money for the site, and they as like the profit. So just imagine the end level profit. Let's say, for argument's sake, it was £1 million or £1.5 million. They gave us the same value for that site without having to do any building work. So we said, "Yeah, fine." They said, "Well, can we go for planning?" I said, "No, our offer, our negotiation is all unconditional. You have to buy it. You have to complete within a certain time frame." And guess what they did? They completed on it. And there we were, holding a massive check of multi-million pounds for a site that we had just got planning on. So admittedly, we thought
So
we
far,
were
it seems like
untouchable.
it's going all right.
Sorry?
So far, this seems like it's still
So,
going very well.
yeah, so yeah, we were untouchable.
Yeah.
So yeah, we felt like we had the Midas touch.
Mm.
2007, 2008, let's fast forward. So by this point, we now have a managing director. We've now got a land director. We've now got our own in-house legal team. We were spending that much on legals. It made more sense for us to hire our own in-house legal team. We had our own in-house architect. We had a junior land director. We had our own quantity surveyors. We had site managers. Our overheads were eye-watering. You remember, with development, you only get paid at the end. You're the last person to get paid as a developer. So, because when you build something, first person that gets paid, the bank. Let's just imagine that you're building 20 apartments. Let's just imagine that your profit on the job is 20%, 20, 25%. Let's work on 25%. It's now nice and easy. That means that you've got to sell 15 apartments first just to pay everyone back. And guess which 15 apartments gets sold first?
The nice ones?
It's always the nice ones. So that means that you're left with 5 units at the end. And guess what? How many times have you driven past the development sites and it says, you know, 2 remaining. We will do you an offer. We'll pay your stamp duty. We'll even give you the carpets. We'll give you the curtains. We'll even pay your legals. We started to have to do that, which meant that slowly but surely that margin reduces. But that's okay, because even then we were still making money. 2007, 2008, market starts to crash. Now we've got sites that we own, that we've land banked, ready for the next project, because you've got to remember, we've now got a whole infrastructure of people that we're employing, so that as soon as we finish one, they have to go on to the next project, they have to go on to the next project, they have to go on to the next project. Otherwise, we're paying them to sit there. So what happens 2007, 2008 is that the market crashes. And it now meant that they were downvaluing all our stuff by up to 35%, which meant that for every property we were building, we were losing 10%.
Oh, wow. That's not good.
On top of that, exactly. On top of that, we had crippling overheads. So guess what happens? All comes crashing down. All comes crashing down. So, and that was a tough time, because when the market crashes, equally the trading side as well, the property trading side, naturally that started to take a dip, because again, no one knew what was going to happen with values. Because if I was negotiating that today, it was worth 100,000. Even though I was negotiating at 70, now people wanted me to go and negotiate it at 50, because they wanted the certainty, knowing that I'm still getting a below market value deal. How hard is it to negotiate a 50% discount off?
I think it's pretty hard to negotiate a 30% discount, 50%. I'm not sure I've ever managed it. I imagine you have, but it's not easy.
It's not easy. Believe me, it's not easy. But we still did do some deals, but nowhere near as 30 a month. So equally, what happened is that we had to have a conversation. There's a conversation because back then we were exposed to banks like Allied Irish, Lloyds, Yorkshire Bank. Sorry, Tom. As people keep calling me, I'm gonna have to put do not disturb on.
It's all right.
Sorry, I didn't realise. Okay. So anyway, I don't know how to do it now. Why do they keep changing everything? Why do I keep moving everything? Oh, okay. Okay. So anyway, so what happened was. There we go. So what happened was that we had to close the development company. So, but then equally, part of this was that in order to get us out the ground, we had to leverage my parents' portfolio. Now, when the bank were coming to us and saying, guys, okay, we're taking the assets, They didn't just mean the assets that they had the first charge on. They also meant the assets that my parents had. So you try having a conversation with my parents to say that, you know, the portfolio that they'd built over the last 30 years is now in the process of being repossessed.
Yeah, I imagine that's an unpleasant conversation, to say the least.
Yeah. So there was, like I said, there's me and two other siblings, and I've told this story a million times, and it never gets any easier, Tom, because at this point, I remember sitting around a table with 5 banks, and all of them at that point did not give a damn as to what was going to happen to me or anything. All they were worried about is how they're going to reclaim the money that they'd lent us for all these sites where they're now probably overgeared. When we talk about overgeared, back then, when the times were good, they were offering us leverage of 100, 120, 150% of the size. So if it was worth £1 million, sometimes they would even lend us up to 1.2 million on it, which is allowing us to keep buying and buying and buying and buying.
And now
Because
that
they
site might be
saw
worth 600,000, 700,000, and they've got a
exactly,
lot of
they
money
saw
now.
the projection of what our company was doing. They were hedging on the projection of our company doing that. Now that site is worth 600,000 or 700,000, which means that now they've got almost like 200% leverage on that site.
Mm.
And I had to sit down to them, and as God as my witness, I had to say to them, guys, we're in a difficult position. You go and take all these properties to an auction, you'll get 50 pence to the pound. You're going to get 50% value. Even then, it's not going to cover your outgoings. They go, right. I said, the one thing that I want to protect out of all this is the parents' portfolio. The rest, take, have, go. And I remember sitting at the table, and there's only one bank that was really interested in talking to me, and it was Lloyd's Bank. Lloyd's Bank, there's a guy called Mike, and he goes, oh, she goes, believe it or not, he goes, I'd love to structure a deal with you. I said to Mike, I said, I need to retain the family portfolio. I said, you've got the first charge on the family portfolio. How about if you structure some lending with me personally, where I know we're 200% leveraged on that portfolio, but I will take on the full 200% debt. But why would you want to do that? I said, because the moment it gets repossessed, I lose full control of that portfolio. If you put that into an auction, I lose control over that property portfolio. So there was a lot of emotion that goes with this portfolio. Got to remember, I've been working on this portfolio since I was 4 years old. And he goes, oh, she goes, what kind of time frame do you want? I said, I want 17 years. I said, I want the 11th of November, 2025 as the deadline. He goes, why?
Coming up, isn't it?
Sorry?
It's coming up, that, isn't it? How's it? Are you on schedule here?
Yeah. So 11th of November, 2025. He goes, Arsh, why? I said, because on 12th of November, 2025, I turned 45 years old. So I want to structure it all so that we're on full on capital repayment for the next 17 years. And believe me, I have worked my bollocks off for 17 years. When I think back at it now, I probably worked. And honestly, Tom, every time I tell this story, not sure if you can see it, but the hairs stand up on, because I probably worked 3 times harder than any property investor that I've ever known. I've had to pay 200. I could have very easily let that portfolio go into an auction. I probably bought it at 50% of the value. but there's no guarantee that I could have, or even if they would have let me, that I had to do the deal there and then.
Mm. So
17 years I've had to pay two. And so when there were times where the monthly payments were circa 30, 40, 50,000 pounds in interest.
Jesus.
So guess what I had to do? I had to go and reinvent myself. So I had to do whatever it took to make sure that I covered the monthly payments every month. One of the brothers, the older one, he could not handle it. When I say he could not handle it, he must have thought I was crazy, but I couldn't let it go. I said, no, not letting it go. I'm going to do this. We're going to salvage it. No, I didn't need to, because let's face it, that portfolio is part of an inheritance for 6 people. So really, I'm probably worked so hard for 17 years, but only actually going to benefit a 6th of that portfolio anyway. But it wasn't about that. For me, it was the pride. So when everyone else was saying, even my dad said to me, he goes, oh, she goes, let it go. He goes, it's okay. It's okay. I said, you know what? Can't let it go.
So
I was too emotionally involved.
yeah, I get that impression. But this must be an amazing time then for you, assuming that this is all on track, because it's already September 25, isn't it?
Remember, so boom, bust, the rebirth. I actually want to cry, Tom.
A lot of people do when they speak to me, but it's not usually for this reason. So I'm
17
glad.
years.
Yeah.
We're doing this on the 22nd of September, 2025.
Mm.
I'm 2 months away. And get yourself together, Arsh. The things that I've had to do over those 17 years. I've traded, I've bought, I've sold, I've renovated, I've built businesses, rent to rent, lease options. I built the property investor app. So just give me a bit of an example. So when I was trading properties, all those people that had trusted me over the years, I started trading again. We never built anything for many years. So everything that I had now, I traded. Anything that I could buy myself with the use of banks, or if it was a really good deal, I still had that leverage. So I still built a portfolio in the background, but I traded everything. I traded everything where possible, because remember, I've got £50,000 liability every month that I've got to cover. So if you can imagine, Tom, waking up knowing that you've got to earn 600 grand that year just to cover the interest.
It's a lot, isn't it?
It's a lot of interest to cover.
It is.
So we traded. So we bought properties. We used every strategy in the book. The LHA strategy, which was multi-generational. So where we, instead of running it as a single let, we use it as the LHA. So we were almost like tripling or quadrupling the income from the property. Had to make every single cent, every single pound count. I was trading, utilizing strategies. I was using other people's properties, rent to rent, lease options, or generating cash flow. We started building a portfolio of 43 rent to rents, each generating anywhere between £1,000 to £1,500 a month.
And
I built a letting agency where was quite strategic, where It was like rent to rent, but without the guarantee. So we were taking landlords' properties on where we'd say to them, okay, we'll give you the standard rent price at £400 a month. We would then go out and do the multi-generational rent, and we'd get that property generating circa, let's say, £1,000 a month. The landlord will get his 400, we would get the 600, but it was not guaranteed. It was based on a letting agency model. And again, we had nearly 200 properties in the agency there. So again, we had to build so many different businesses, and we had to spin so many different plates. So if one plate derailed, we still had loads of others that kept going. The property investor app. Sorry, go on, Tom. Sorry, yeah.
Right. So thinking about that incredible journey and where you are now, and I guess with 2 months to go, and then maybe that chapter's not, I don't say finished. You get to decide what the right word is for that. But then, where's your focus go to now? I mean, does anything change massively, or do things carry on more or less as they are, or how do you see the future working out? Have you not thought that far ahead?
No, well, the honest answer is that the date gave me so much focus.
Mm.
It was a date, it was a significance. And I could have stretched that time frame out to 25, 35 years. At that time, I was 27 years old. I could have got leverage up to the age of 65 years old. So they would have even gave me nearly 40 years. I didn't want the 40-year battle.
Mm.
I could have made life a lot easier for myself by, instead of having £50,000 a month, my income, my interest level could have been circa £10,000 to £15,000 a month. But I would be working till 65. I did not want that. And I don't know, but 45, I'll be debt free. And the siblings have got their inheritance back. Will they ever appreciate what I've had to do for the last 17 years? Probably not.
They might do listen to this podcast.
They've never known. There's only one sibling that came on the journey with me. And he thought I was absolutely crazy.
Right.
You met him, didn't you, Tom? You met Aki?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, so Aki. So basically, how it worked with our dynamic, and bless him, to be fair. I couldn't have asked for a better person to be by my side.
Mm.
I would go out and make all the mess, negotiate deals, this, that, and the other. He would just make sure all the admin was all correct.
Critical function, that, isn't it? In a bit.
It is, yes. So I'd go out, negotiate, I'd go out, do this, I'd go out, do that. And he would make sure that all the accounting and everything was all correct. And we are where we are. He would look after the banking. He would tell me where we are position-wise. And every month, I said to Aki, I said, what we got surplus? He goes, Arsh, don't ask. Nothing. Nothing. He goes, yes, we've probably made some cash flow, but you've already spent it on this and that and the other. So, I mean, in terms of deals, I'm still doing deals, Tom. I mean, I've done some of the greatest deals probably over the last couple of years. So, give you an example. I've got a deal that I negotiated last year. So, this was a deal that, believe it or not, I'm not afraid to walking past a building and seeing a for sale sign, and even though it's with an agent, I will still call that agent and see what deal we can do. So I'm going to kind of bring us to a close with this deal. So 16,000 square foot office building in Wolverhampton.
Big.
Yeah, 16,000 square foot office building. And it's been on the market for sale for a few months. So I walk past it. I said, okay, today I'm going to call the agent. It was back in July 2024.
Yeah.
I called the agent and said, do you know what, guys? I said, I know it's been for sale for a short while. I said, I've got an offer, but I need to, in order for me to put my offer forward, I need to be sat in front of the owner. I said, you'll still be involved in the transaction from day to day and everything. You won't be cut out of the transaction. I said, but can you put me in front of the owner? After going to and forth, back and forth, back and forth, they said they agreed to a round table conversation. And in this conversation, how it worked was, guys, I will buy your building off you at the full market value. So you want £1.5 million for it today? I will give you £1.5 million for it today. They started rubbing their hands. Said, okay, great, deal. I said, but you are going to have to lend me £1.5 million to buy the building off you. The look on their face was priceless. So they said, hang on, you're buying the building off me, but we're lending you the money to buy the building off me. I said, yeah, you got the gist of it. I said, I know there's no debt on that building. I did my research on it before coming to this meeting. I know there's no debt on this building. So you can actually afford to lend me or underwrite a £1.5 million debt to me. So they said, no, chats, preposterous. Why would we give you a deal where you've got no money in on the game? I said, because ultimately you're going to be sat here in another 12 months with another vacant building, not knowing what to do with it, not producing any income. So anyway, they said, we'll consider it, but it's pretty much a no, 99% no. I said, fine, guys, welcome, no problem. Now, I always carry a pen with me. Now, it's not always this pen, but I always carry a Mont Blanc pen with me. And you know what I do? I said, thank you very much, guys. And I left it on the table. Well, when I say I left it on the table, I purposely forgot it. I said, guys, it's been a pleasure meeting you. Let us know what you think, and then we'll go from there. I walked out the building. And then by the time I got to the bottom of the stairs, I get a chat, Arsh. Yeah, hi. You go, oh, you forgot something in the room. Okay. Oh, what is it? You go, oh, you left your pen. Oh, I better come up and get it. And this is my second entrance into the room. They go, okay, do you want to just tell us a little bit more about your logic behind it, about your logic behind your offer? I said, well, at the moment, as it stands, you've got a building that's not earning you anything and probably is not going to sell anytime soon. I said, you're going to lend me the full 1.5 million. I'm then going to come and increase the value of that building by going off and getting planning permission for it. And within 30 months, which is the duration of what I want the loan for, I will then be able to pay you back the 1.5 million. I'll perhaps give you a bit of interest on your money. And off the back of that, you will have sold the property, you'll have your interest, your money's made money. I've increased the value of the building. And then if I don't complete for whatever reason, you can repossess that property off me, and that property will probably be worth circa 2.5 million, which means that not only have you made interest on your money, but also now your building's worth a lot more than what it's worth today. Now they started to listen. We went back and forth on emails for a couple of weeks. And they said, Arsh, we can't give you the £1.5 million loan, but we will entertain it if you can put in a 30% deposit, which means that they want me to put in £450,000. I said, yeah, thank you for the consideration. It's not for me. And they go, what can you put in? I said, how about £1? And they go, no deal. So we went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And they said, well, how about you put in 10%, which is the £150,000? I said, guys, no deal. I said, what I'm going to do, I'm going to offer you this one time only. I said, I'm then going to stop wasting time. I said, I will put in £50,000. So you will now lend me £1,450,000. I will put in £50,000. And they agreed. So now we started going through the legal process. They had a bit of a compliance issue where the building was previously let out to the job centre. Job centre decided not to renew their lease. I knew all this from the outset. And then the process took approximately 18 months. Now, all of a sudden, then they got everything wrapped up by the job centre and their dilapidations claim. They came to me and said, "Oh, we need to complete it next week." I said, "Well, that's a bit of a challenge because now," I said, yeah, exactly. I said, why do we need it to complete next week? They go, because it's our year end next week. We need this asset off our books. I said, fine. I said, but I've got a bit of an issue because I said, I'm traveling. And for me to transfer you the 50K might be a bit of an issue because it might come across some KYC issues because I'm abroad. Yeah. They go, how can we do this? I said, what we can do is that you can lend me the full 1.5 million and we can get it completed. They go, and the guy, he goes, oh, she goes, you bastard. He goes, you got what you wanted, haven't you? We completed. They lent me the full £1,499,000. I had to transfer £1. I went off and got planning for 24 one-bed apartments, 5 shops and a 20-bed hotel. It's now worth £2.5 million with planning. We're in the process of going for some development funding. That's just one that we're going to build. I'm going to build. But I've done a few deals like that. So along the way, as we've got closer to the end of 2025, I decided to do a few more deals like this. And so the back again has been quite interesting.
It's always interesting with you, Ash. Nothing else is for sure, but that is one of life's guarantees. It's been a really good, I think really good, as you say, journey. Right the way through.
So during that process, remember we talked about deal sourcing and all that kind of stuff. So now instead of texting all of our investors now, I actually built an app called the Property Investor app. You can find it on the App Store. And now all we do, we put all of our deals on the app, and investors from all over the world are buying our deals. So again, this is something that we built along the way of deal sourcing and deal trading. So I launched that just over 5 years ago, and we've now got approximately 53,000 users on the app.
Wow, it's impressive.
So it's been an interesting time, Tom. It's I've told you warts and all that. When people say to me, "Arsh, you've been quite successful," I said that I had no choice. And going back to the story of what my parents told me, is that you've got to go out and make it.
And I think if people are listening and watching, which I know they are, and appreciating taking the time, there's lots of things to learn from Mr. Arsh Ellahi, but one of them I'd say is around if you've got the reason or the focus, and it's maybe a much bigger one or a different one for what most people have got. I've never had a kind of I get the strong impression that Mr. Elahi's focus and reason to do this was much bigger than mine, and maybe that's one of the reasons he's gone on to do such big things. So whatever your reason is, it will almost certainly be similar to your size.
Everyone's reason is completely personal to them. Mine, right. It doesn't have to be as large as mine or as challenging as mine, but everyone has their own challenges. And everyone makes their challenges. So I just chose. Unfortunately, I had to play with the hand. Sorry, I don't know what the word is. I had to play with the hand that was dealt to me.
Absolutely right, as we all do, and I get the impression you've played yours very well. People will post some ways to get in touch with Arsh. He's already mentioned his app there, and we mentioned his book. We'll post some ways to get in touch with Arsh with this podcast and video. But people are lazy, so if people want to get a hold of you, Arsh, what's the best way to do it? Where can people follow you or find you?
So you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all under the handle of Arsh Ellahi. Got a YouTube channel. Feel free to subscribe to the Property Rebel podcast, which we release a new episode every Tuesday at 6 a.m. And then ultimately go and check out the Property Investor app. Simple as that.
Thank you very much indeed for being with us today. Really appreciate it. And be sure to go and check out Arsh Ellahi's work. He's one of the most impressive men I think I've ever met. All the best, everyone.
Thank you.